Good morning. My name is Lisa Daisel. I'm from the UNISA Directorate for Counselling and Career Development. A very warm welcome to all of you who have joined us this morning. We are very excited to learn more about the career opportunities at the Auditor General South Africa. With me, I've got my colleagues, Mrs. Mandu Makanya, as well as Mr. Beki Mzobe. Mrs. Makanya, if I could just ask you to introduce our speaker after I've shared the program. So our program this morning, I'm doing the welcome, and then Mrs. Makanya will be doing the introduction. After that, we will have Mr. Sergio Mongale from the Auditor General South Africa sharing with us the career opportunities. As you are listening to the presentation, please post any questions you have in the Q&A on Teams, and Mr. Mongale will then attend to those questions after the presentation. Thank you very much. And then thank you, Mrs. Makanya.
Thank you, Lisa. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is such an excitement and an honor and a pleasure for us to have our guest speaker today from the Auditor General of South Africa. He is a graduate recruitment and bursary manager at AGSA. He is a professional auditor and has a passion for the auditing profession, and aspires to further his skills and knowledge so that he can continue to add value to his field of expertise. And ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Mr. Sergio Mongale to our virtual stage. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Mr. Mongale. You can go ahead and share your presentation with us.
Thank you very much, Lisa, and thank you very much, Ms. Makanya, for that warm and wonderful introduction. And good morning to our guests of honor, the students of the University of South Africa. I am very delighted to be joined by you and to engage you today with the career opportunities that we have at the AGSA. Please allow me to switch off my camera just for bandwidth purposes so that I can share my presentation with you. And good morning once more, everyone. My name is Sergio Mongale. I am the Graduate Recruitment Manager at the AGSA. I am currently working in the People and Organization Effectiveness Business Unit. We are primarily responsible for the talent acquisition role or the talent acquisition team at the AGSA. So we are the ones that bring in the professionals that join our institution and the ones that are coming from either the experienced higher side or the ones that are joining our graduate recruitment program. As per the introduction, I'm a professional auditor and I'm also a proud UNISA alumni. So you're at least speaking to someone that knows and understands the challenges that you have and your experience as well, in terms of getting into the professional space, as well as some of the opportunities that are out there that you're not necessarily aware of. In terms of the AGSA, I would like to start off with our mission and vision. As the Auditor General, we have a constitutional mandate as the Supreme Audit Institution of South Africa to strengthen our country's democracy by enabling oversight, accountability, and governance in the public sector through auditing, thereby building public confidence. What this generally means is that as the Auditor General, we are working currently in a very niche market. We are the only audit firm that audits government and all the entities as well as the departments. So our vision is also to be recognized as a relevant stakeholder by all our stakeholders as a relevant Supreme Audit institution that enhances public sector accountability. And we are also trying to professionalize the public sector in South Africa. Just in terms of our mandate and a bit of the legislative requirement, we are not a government institution. We are a Chapter 9 institution as outlined in the Constitution of South Africa. We are part of a group of institutions that are listed in Section 181 of the Constitution. And then as the Auditor General, our main role is to audit and report on the accounts and all the financial statements and the financial management of the national and provincial departments, municipalities, as well as the public entities. We will touch on these in more detail as we go ahead. Just in terms of our establishment as the AGSA, we've got Mrs. Tsakani Maluleke as the Auditor General, And in terms of our structure as the AGSA, if you would allow me to please pause on this slide to just look at this slide in detail. When we start on the AG herself, Tsakani Maluloko is the overall boss in the institution. She is the main head of the institution. And then just below her, we've got the Deputy Auditor General, that is Mr. Bonani Chauke. He is essentially the CEO of our organization. So he takes overall responsibility of all the operational functions and all the functions that we have internally in terms of the operations, and all the functional chiefs report to him, as well as the heads of audit. So if you would allow me to maybe start on the right-hand side of the structure. If we look at these positions here, we've got our functional chiefs, we've got our chief financial officer, our CFO, our CPO, Mrs. Lindio Myambu, and our digital and technology office, as well as our chief risk officers. So those are our 4 functional chiefs. And then when we look at the left-hand side, we've got the heads of audit, the 2 heads of audit. We've got 1 for national and 1 for provincial, as well as the head of specialized audits. As you all know, the AGSA's primary role and function is to audit government. So our main group of employees are sitting in these two groups, the national audit as well as the provincial audit portfolios. I'll get into more detail in terms of that as we go along. And then in terms of our specialized audits, we've got our information system auditors. These are the IT auditors that look at your data analytics. They deal mainly with data analytics, our cybersecurity in terms of our audit clients. They also support all these auditors that sit in the different business units. That's where most of the support is coming from. We're also looking at our performance auditors. We've got a performance audit team that specifically focuses on all the specialized functions. Like, for instance, if you're looking at a department that requires us to have a couple of engineers or specialists in that particular area, these would mainly sit in the performance business unit. So they basically help us with the predetermined objectives that government would have, and in terms of the auditing thereof. We've also got an in-house investigations unit, where we also refer some of our things to them in case there's a need for us to investigate any matters further. That's where we've got Ms. Aletta Fantrom that's currently heading that department, where all the investigations, even the requests that are coming from the general public, also gets covered by that business unit. We've also got an integration and innovation unit, as well as the material irregularity unit, specifically also that deals with the new powers, the extended powers that the AGSA recently obtained, so that they can be able to do their work with more meaning. So in terms of the opportunities that are there, once a graduate is done with their formal training program in terms of SAICA, they are then afforded a chance to also join any of these units if they want to specialize in a specific area. Like, for instance, if you want to be a forensic auditor, you would then be referred to the investigations business unit or the material irregularity business unit, where you can then further your studies there. The organization also covers you and helps you and supports you through the process of furthering your studies, if it's going to be in line with what you're going to be doing on a day-to-day basis. And then in terms of the CFO's portfolio, we've got the finance business unit. They deal with the internal finance. We've got the procurement. They also deal with all the internal procurement processes that we do. And we also have our strategic audit projects. These ones mainly manage our relationships with the private firms. As you would know, that the AGSA audits all the departments and the municipalities, and we currently have a audit portfolio with over 1,000 auditees. So that is a very big number of clients that we have there. So we need a lot of support and help from some of our colleagues in the private sector. So that's what that division basically does. They manage our relationship with the different audit firms. We've also got an information and knowledge management unit. They particularly deal with the archiving of all our audit files and all the knowledge and the information that we have with regards to our auditees, as well as ourselves internally as the AGSA. And then we've also got our Chief People Officer. This is the people portfolio essentially. And I am in this business right here called the People and Organization Effectiveness. We are mainly responsible for all the technical training and also for capacitating the audit teams that operate in the organization. So everyone goes through this unit, and we also work in conjunction with the business support and operations business unit. So that essentially makes up the people portfolio. And then something that we are also very close to as an organization, or something that we've actually been working very hard to sort of build capacity around, is the technology and the innovation part of things. So we've got our ICT function under the CTO, as well as our digital transformation officers. So even in terms of the digital skills, it's also one of the upcoming opportunities that we currently have for our staff members internally, and also for the graduates that we are currently recruiting into the organization. And then from a risk perspective, we've got a Chief Risk Officer. They are mainly responsible for the quality management unit. This is where all the quality management inspections happen. We don't necessarily get audited by IRBA because we've got our own internal one. Here and there, IRBA comes in to check some of our files on a regular basis to see if all our processes are still intact. And also we've got a legal division that also deals with both the internal and the external legal matters that pertain to our organization. And then lastly, we've got our risk and ethics business unit. They also deal with all the matters that relate to your independence, declarations, all the matters that deal with risk and ethics, basically. If there's any complaints with regards to any of our auditors, they would ideally then go to our risk and ethics business unit. So that's from a support point of view. All the functional chiefs, as well as the head of specialized audits, they mainly support the audit machinery, as well as the main regulatory auditors. In terms of our biggest division, as you would all know, auditing is our bread and butter. So most of our employees actually sit in the auditing part. So if you look at the national, the head of audit national, they basically have all the business units that are based at head office. We've got national A up until national F. Those are the different business units. The reason why we have those 6 business units is because we've got a lot of national departments and divisions that required us to sort of group them into specific groups and have specific sectors auditing, or specific auditors focusing on specific sectors. Like for instance, if you look at National A, they audit the presidency as well as the public protector, those kind of audits. National B, they mainly specialize in the banking sector. I know most people think we don't have the banking sector in our portfolio, but we also have a couple of banks, and we also audit the PIC, Public Investment Corporation, the biggest investment corporation in Africa. We also audit those. Those are audited under the National B. And then in terms of National C, National D, sorry, on the structures, National D here, they mainly focus on a number of auditees. These are the communications sector, for instance. You're looking at your SABC, Post Office, Post Bank. They also have the Department of Health, Department of Water and Sanitation. They've also got the Department of Environmental Affairs. It's now called, I think, Forestry and Fisheries. They also fall under this portfolio, National D. And then National C, they also have their own specific focus area, which is the South African National Defence Force. They also focus on some of the auditees that fall in their portfolio. And then National E focuses a lot on some of the other private sector, or some of the other state-owned entities, sorry. Some of the state-owned entities such as your Transnet, your Eskom, as well as your SAA. They mainly focus a lot on the state-owned entities. And the National F, they do a lot of the social security as well as all the education, the entire education sector, basically, all the universities, as well as all as well as the Department of Education and some of the entities that fall under that. So if you look at this portfolio in in essence, basically, it's all the national divisions or national departments, as well as the state-owned entities that are currently housed in Pretoria or the neighboring cities like your Gauteng or your Johannesburg. And in terms of our audit support, we've also got a technical audit support unit. They mainly assist the colleagues with some of the most technical or more technical parts of the audit. If the auditors maybe need something to be researched a bit further, or there's a new change in legislation that they're not necessarily aware how to apply themselves, we've got a division that also helps them in terms of that. So in terms of this portfolio, they don't necessarily have any trainees currently in this portfolio. The main thing is these guys here are experienced colleagues that are also subject matter experts in their functions. So we've got the technical audit support. They mainly focus on that. And then we've got the reporting and the methodology team. They particularly help the auditors once they are done with their audits. So these are the guys that come in once the audit report is signed off. They come in and change all that audit information or the audit data into a message that all of us can consume as normal citizens, as well as preparing some of these reports for Parliament as well. And then they also deal with the methodology in terms of how we go about auditing all the clients or all the auditees that we have in our portfolios. And then we've also got another division that is called the institutional cooperation. They basically focus on our relationship with the political office bearers. They are based in Pretoria as well as in Cape Town at the Parliament offices. So essentially what they do, they train all these auditors in terms of the political etiquette, how to engage the politicians once they get to Parliament. It's something that is very important because there's specific processes and procedures that one needs to follow. So they are the ones that are assisting in terms of that. And then we've also got another division under audit support that is called the Audit Risk Intelligence. So this division basically shares some of the insights in terms of what we need to look at as an organization as a whole. Where should we focus all our energies on, and also help in terms of the risk assessment that the auditors need to do in terms of their work. So that's essentially what the audit portfolio looks like. And then just to mirror what the national divisions are doing, we've also got the provincial business units. All the 9 provinces have their own specific business unit that is housed or that is currently in their own province. So basically what the provincial business units do, they audit all the provincial departments, such as your Provincial Department of Education, Provincial Department of Health, for instance, as well as all the municipalities. You would recall that all the municipalities have their own districts as well as the local municipalities in each province and each area. So that's what the provincial colleagues help us with. One should also highlight that it is not to say that if someone is based in the provincial office, they cannot help in some of the audits that are also done at national. A trainee could be based in Western Cape, but also audit a client that is in Gauteng, for instance. So we at least have a pooling system where we allow our trainees to sort of move around and get as much exposure as possible so that they can be supported and also help them grow as professionals. Just to move on to our AGSA values, one of the questions that we get a lot is, how does it feel like working at the AGSA? And a way in which I answer that question is I share the values that we live by. And these 4 values are critical to the AGSA and the environment that we create for all our employees, because we think that it's important to first get to our employees' heart before we can focus on the work. So these 4 values essentially then portray what we are trying to achieve and what we currently have in our organization. Just to move on, in terms of the professionals that work in our organization, we currently have over 3,460 employees, and then all 9 provinces in the country are also have their own specific office in each province. And if we look at some of the type of professionals that we have, we've got over 1,000 CAs. These are the main professionals that we have in our organization, as well as the registered government auditors. These are also the colleagues that are coming from the SAIGA leadership as well as the SAIGA institution. So some of the specialized or the specializing divisions, we've also got some certified information auditors. These are the IT auditors. They mainly assist in all the audits. They are a centralized unit that supports the entire organization. And then we've got a couple of individuals that also have a master's degree. In terms of the support that we provide to our employees, we allow all our employees to further their studies where possible. And if it's something that is going to enhance their role where they are currently in terms of the division that they're in, we also then fund those studies for them. So that's something that the organization really truly believes in. And we truly believe in continuously investing in our own staff through the study support, as well as the internal training and the developmental programs that are out there, such as your MADC and LADC. So there's also a lot of other leadership programs that we also introduce to our people and our professionals that are currently working in our offices. So that's something that we really pride ourselves in. Just in terms of how we are seen by our students or some of the stakeholders, we were recognized and voted as the employer of choice in the public sector category by the graduates countrywide for the second time in a row. And this is something that we've always prided ourselves in, calling ourselves the employer of choice. And the main reason is because that's how the students have always related to us in terms of our benefits and everything that we sort of offer to our students and our stakeholders. In terms of that award, we came out third in the 2022 award ceremony. This is where candidates were asked to name one organization that they aspire to work for, irrespective of the current skill or which level they are in. And that's where we were rated. We came third, and also we were in the same group as your PwC, Deloitte, as well as Investec Bank. I think the overall winner for that year was Standard Bank. And then just in terms of how the profession views us, this particular award is something that is very close to my heart because it speaks to the hard work that has been put in by my colleagues in the training offices across the country. The AGSA is recognized, and we really pride ourselves in putting diversity at the forefront of our training program. We are a very inclusive organization. We also ensure that most of the work that we do is transforming and professionalizing the industry as much as possible. Not only the industry, but also the public sector, because that's the environment that we are operating in. And one of the things that I always mention is that, for instance, UNISA as an institution, we previously used to have about 50 to 60% of our annual trainees that joined the organization actually studied at UNISA. And it also speaks to the amazing relationship that we have with the institution. And, you know, if you look at the number of students that are currently studying at UNISA, as well as the caliber of the students that go through the UNISA program, we really thought that it's very good for us to get a lot of those students to come and join us. Previously, we had a lot of flexibility in terms of our criteria. We took people without CTA and with CTA. But now we recently changed that, so that has sort of shifted things a bit, but we'll get into that in more detail. This award was mainly for the 15 training officers that we have across the country, and we're managing over 1,100 SAICA trainees in the previous year. And it was mainly also to just acknowledge the good work that we've done, and also in terms of our biggest contribution, which is creating a lot of CASAs. In the previous years, we've had over 1,500 professionals that came out as CASAs in our training program. And then we had over 500 young professionals that got retained as part of our continuous development program at the AGSA. They got retained into our structures, and they are currently continuing as either assistant managers or audit seniors in terms of their different roles that they are currently in. Another big contribution that we are doing is not just only in terms of the local profession, we are also very big role players in terms of the international community as well. The private and the public sectors also recognize us as a model institution and a very good training office as well, because all the professionals that leave our organization continue to make an impact, not only in the profession, but in the lives of our citizens locally and abroad as well. In terms of our alumni, we've got a couple of alumni in our organization that are doing extremely and exceptionally well at the moment. One of my favorites is, just to single her out, is the current PwC CEO, PwC South Africa, that is Mrs. Shelley Machaba. She also did her articles at the AGSA. And then Mr. Marcus Howard, that is the Chief of Staff at AGSA. He's also done his articles at AGSA, just to name a few. And then we've also got a couple of colleagues that are also currently pursuing and really applying their trade abroad as well. A personal friend of mine, Moloko Mapaya, is also currently working at PwC UK. He's also a proud UNISA alumni, and he did his CTA part-time. He's one of the exceptions that managed to pass it while he was still studying part-time and working as a trainee at the AGSA. So that just speaks to the caliber of trainees that we are currently developing in our training scheme. That's something that we really pride ourselves in, because we're not just training these professionals to stay at our firm, but also to give back to the profession as well as society at large. And then in terms of our SAICA Trailblazer competition finalists, we've got two colleagues. One of them is Ms. Mashudu Patela from the Limpopo Business Unit, as well as Lisa Nkomana from our Northern Cape Business Unit. They are two amazing trainees that have been recognized as part of the SAICA's Trailblazer competition for the exceptional work that they do in their everyday lives, as well as the communities in which they're operating in. So this just shows that in terms of the training program, it's also a very good learning platform for most of our young professionals that would like to join our organization. And it also puts you out there, not just in terms of the AGSA, but also you get recognized by the profession at large. And that really is testament to the amazing work that the colleagues are doing on the ground. This is something that we're really priding ourselves in. And then just in terms of the technical parts of the business, some of the standards and the reporting, the reporting standards that you get exposed to at the AGSA, we've got your IFRS. I know most CTA students are mainly familiar with IFRS. Some of them that have maybe worked in the public sector and have heard about some of our reporting standards. We've also got GRAP. This is mainly used by our departments, our municipalities, sorry, excuse me for that, our municipalities, as well as some of the public entities. Most of them use GRAP. It's also an accrual reporting framework. So that's also similar to what IFRS has. It's just a couple of differences here and there. And then in terms of the national and provincial departments, those mainly use modified cash standard. So that's some of the opportunities that we afford you at the AGS8, is to give you a broader picture of the different reporting standards that are out there, just to sort of make you a well-rounded professional and not just, focusing on the one. Yes, it's internationally recognized, but also in terms of our own local standards that we are currently working on dealing with. Via the ASB, of course, we're also working on these other ones. So our main aim as the AGSA is actually to change the lives of South Africans. And if we can really focus on the good work that we can do in bringing the right qualified people into the public sector, we feel that that would mainly change the culture of accountability and the culture of, doing things right in the public sector. Just in terms of the other legislations that we are also operating in, most of our work is actually set out in the Public Audit Act. It's also very important for one to understand that the AGSA also forms part of a Supreme Audit Institution, of the Supreme Audit Institutions. So we've also got the ISI standards that we're also working on, as well as the International Auditing and Assurance Standards Board standards as well. So those are some of the legislations and the standards that we work with. Just in terms of our departments or our auditees that we audit, they are mainly broken down into three groups. If you look at the first one, section 4.1, these are all the mandatory audits that we are currently auditing in the organization. Those are your departments, your constitutional institutions, parliament, legislatures, as well as your municipalities and your municipal entities. And then just some of the mandatory ones, section 4.2, your national consolidation that we do at the National Treasury, as well as the provincial consolidation and the municipal consolidation as well. We also deal in those audits. Some of the discretionary ones that we have is the ones that we've opted not to audit at the moment, mainly due to different reasons. Some of them could be capacity, some of them could be because of the technicalities around it. So there's different reasons why we're not auditing those particular ones. However, the plan is to take over or take back those clients gradually. SAA is one example. It used to be audited by one of the private firms. And then in the 2015-2016 financial year, we then decided to take it over and audit it ourselves. If you look at your Transnet, it's also following a similar approach. If you look at ESCOM, it's also currently following a similar approach. So those are the section 4.3 clients that we are currently looking to bring back or audit. It's mainly discretionary audits. It was mainly audited by our private sector colleagues that are helping us with some of our audit work that we do. Just in a nutshell, the work that we do as an organization is mainly to audit all the institutions that are funded by government or by the revenue fund, and it's also legislated to receive or make money for public purposes. So that's essentially what the AGSA is currently doing. Just in terms of some of the AGSA audit clients that we have, we've got a couple of clients, your SAA, like I had mentioned, Transnet, Parliament is also one of them, all the departments, the PIC is also one of them. So this is just a snapshot of the type of clients that we have at the AGSA. It's not to say that we only focus on the departments and the municipalities. There's also other institutions that are funded by or are legislated to get money on behalf of the public. So those are the clients that we are currently auditing. Just to move on in terms of the benefits that we have. So when you come in as an employee of the AGSA, the one way in which you can come in is to become a TA, meaning you become part of our training scheme and you're one of our trainee auditors. We call you TAs when you get there. I know my colleagues would actually have me for lunch if I publicly called you TAs. It's now called the Young Professionals. So if you form part of the Young Professional group at the AGSA, what we offer you is a whole host of benefits. And one of them is the medical aid scheme that we have. We really pride ourselves in the fact that we are the only organization currently in the country that's offering our trainees 100% medical aid cover. No other institution, to my knowledge, in the auditing sector on our industry specifically currently offering you that. I know most of them allow you to pay that off your own salary. Our salary basically covers everything over and above we pay for your medical aid. And then just in terms of your other benefits, we also have what we call our group life benefit. This mainly covers yourself as the employee and your spouse as well as your dependents in the unfortunate event of death. And then when one of those pass on, then we also then support you financially to a certain extent, but those benefits are also outlined in some of our in our policies basically. Then we've also got what we call the funeral cover. For you only as the employee, we pay out 3 times your salary in the unfortunate event of your death should you pass on. That is paid for to your beneficiaries that you would have then elected, mainly the ones that form part of that group life. And then just in terms of your psychological and other types of help that you might need or require, such as your financial coaching, psychologists, and social challenges that you might have, we also have ICAS on board. They assist us in terms of that element. We know that for some of our colleagues and some of our young professionals, there might be challenges in terms of transitioning from being a student. So I know some people are full-time students into being a young professional. So we always try and ensure that that transition is a very smooth transition. And we hope and pray that at least we can assist you in terms of your journey to becoming a professional or well-rounded professional. Some of the other programs that we have is then the AGSA Digiversity. This mainly focuses on the digital skills learnership that we are trying to establish at the AGSA. We don't want to be a one-dimensional organization that only focuses on regulatory audit. We are also trying to see opportunities in which we can also empower you with digital skills and also give you exposure to some of the skills that a normal auditor would require in order to do their job, such as the cybersecurity analysis as well as the data analytics. So in the long run, we want to also focus on that. We've also got a mentorship program in case that in cases where you're part of the training scheme, there's going to be someone that's going to be mentoring you at each level. Each trainee or young professional has a mentor and a mentee. Except the ones that are in first year, of course, because there's no one below them at that stage, but we also try and at least empower them with those skills as well. And then we are also one of the officers to be the first pilots of the SAICA CA 2025 framework. That's something that we're currently using in the organization. And like I had mentioned earlier on, we've got ongoing study support initiatives as well as our orientation and foundations program once you start working with us. One of the things that we also look at is that we know that your primary role will be in auditing. It doesn't mean that you won't get exposure to the other parts of the profession or the business, right? Such as your tax, your financial management, as well as your financial accounting. We've got ongoing training where we give you on-the-job training on some of those other modules that you would have covered as part of your studies, so that by the time you're finished with your training at the AGSA, you're not just an audit specialist, but you're a well-rounded professional that can deal with any other part of the profession or part of the industry. If you want to maybe venture in tax, you can always venture into tax. We are going to equip you with all the training that you need in terms of that as well. And then just to pause on to the study support, once you join our training scheme program, one of the first things that we cover for you is your ITC board course, as well as your registration with SAICA to write your board exam. So our graduate recruitment program is currently mainly focused on the CASA stream. So we're mainly training the guys that are trying to become CASAs. So our aim is to get them over the line, and these are some of the benefits that we are currently offering them. So in your first year when you join, the SAICA board course, the ITC board course, as well as your SAICA board exam, we pay for that. We also give you paid 20 leave days, study leave days, paid study leave days for you to be able to go and prepare for the ITC exam. So if your contract starts on the 1st or 2nd of January, you immediately go on leave up until you write your ITC exam. Once you're done with that, you will then be joining us for your first few days of training and for onboarding, and then that's where your training starts. While you are currently pursuing your qualification and also doing your training, we also then support you in terms of your APC and your APT exams. We pay for both the board courses as well as the exams itself. And for both ITC and APC, we offer you customized lectures and tutors where possible, so that we can help you in terms of your individual struggles as well, where you can have a Q&A session with someone who specifically either passed or someone that is working with those kind of training. And we also give you your 20 study leave days in terms of that as well. And then just to mention, these costs are also they also form part of our 70-30 policy in the organization. We mainly give you a bursary of 70% the cost, and then 30% of it will be a loan. So if, let's say, your total fees here for the board course as well as your board exam cost 10,000 Rand, it means that 7,000 is a bursary and then the 3,000 is a loan. But that loan gets paid over a certain period. It doesn't get paid all at once, meaning you then get to pay it over about 10 to 12 months. There'll be about 300 plus minus being deducted from your salary. And then should you pass your exam in the first attempt, we then repay you that 3,000 Rand. Then it means that the full cost was actually a bursary to you. This is mainly to motivate you and to also hold you accountable, and just to help you financially as well in terms of some of the challenges that you might have. That's what we are trying to achieve with that policy. And then just in terms of our induction program, we have a big induction that happens at the beginning of the year. When you come and join us, we have an amazing event where all trainees can have a Q&A with some of our experienced staff members, and they can also join and get welcomed by our executive members. That's where I will pause, Lisa. I'll pause for any questions and any engagements that you would like to have. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergio. I'm just going to share my screen with you quickly. Okay, so our first question, let's take a look here. So CSWE was asking, do you also take in diploma students, or do you need to be a degree graduate? In other words, just part of the CA stream.
Just to answer the question, we currently are not taking any diploma students. So the minimum requirement is that you should have your CTA, and we recognize CTA 2 as the minimum requirement in terms of UNISA. So if you did your studies at UNISA, you should have at least passed CTA 2 in order to join our graduate program. What we do have, though, in between or during the year, sometimes we have specific requests to bring in more trainees, and those requirements are also then crafted by that division that requires these people to join. And sometimes they only look at the ones that have maybe a undergraduate degree. That would be maybe your NQF level 7 degrees. I think in UNISA you've got level 1, CTA level 1, and the normal degree, accounting degree, BCom accounting degree. So those are some of the minimum requirements. But for the graduate recruitment program, where you are part of the TAs or the young professionals that are aspiring to become CASAs, the minimum requirement is CTA 2.
Thank you. Lily was asking, what kind of person is successful at the AGSA?
That is a very interesting question. But at the AGSA, we're looking for someone that is very driven, someone that is proactive, someone that is, looking to make an impact in not only their own life, but in the life of others, because that is something that we are really passionate about as an organization. We're looking for someone that is going to be very involved in not only our training program, but someone that is going to put themselves out there to lead some of our internal forums that we have, in some of our internal committees that we have, such as our social clubs and all those type of initiatives. So essentially, we're looking for someone that has a lot of leadership skills, and they are very passionate about the public sector and also auditing to make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you. Lizuka was wondering, do you take in graduates for the IT audit section, and what degree or qualifications does one need for this specialized area?
So for the specialized area, we haven't been taking a lot of graduates in that space. Where we did take, I know this year we did take a couple of guys that had BSc degrees in information systems, for instance, and not necessarily to be, auditors. So we at least had ways in which we trained them to sort of, apply their trade in auditing as well. So that's some of the requirements that we had. But we are looking to diversify our graduate recruitment as well as our graduate space. For now, we only had a structured program for the CA program because that was regulated by SICA, and we also used to that program. One thing we are trying to do is to at least diversify it and include some of the digital skills. But with that being said, the colleagues that are working in the information systems division, they mainly give us a criteria that we should look out for, such as the data analytics. They've got specific requirements for the data analytics team or the guys that they want to bring in, as well as the cybersecurity analysts. So those are the type of people that they've currently been looking at. But when we do advertise on our platforms, will then state what the minimum requirements would be for each position. Hopefully that answers their question.
Thank you, Sergio. Komotso's asking, do you have a specific time in the year when you do intake for articles or for the trainee accountants?
So our specific time for the year, we mainly try and target the beginning of the year, once the graduates have finalized their studies. For instance, if I look at UNISA's academic calendar, it usually ends during your October-November period. And then there are some people that will be writing their supplementary exams during either December or January, depending on what is out there or how things are happening. I know COVID has sort of affected both of us, and in terms of some of the processes that we follow. So what we usually do is have another intake over and above the January-February period. We have another one in June. I know there's one or two institutions where the academic calendar ends in the middle of the year, during May or June. We also consider those kind of instances. But throughout the year, we do hire graduates. We have a customized program for all of them, because ever since COVID, we've really been struggling with getting the right number of people with the right qualifications. That's something that we've really been grappling with as a profession, and not just an institution. All the other firms are also struggling with the same kind of challenges. Even IRBA is also struggling with their own intake as well. So those are some of the challenges that we have in the industry at the moment.
Sergio, thank you. What I hear you saying is that it's very much a seller's market at this stage.
Yes, essentially that's exactly what it is. And most of the time we've actually found ourselves in the position where we were taking people throughout the year. That's been something that we've been doing at the moment. I've had people that started on the 1st of July. I've had people that started on the 16th of July, and some of them are also coming in on the 1st of August. So it's really a seller's market. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you. Samantha's asking, what are some of the advantages of working for the AGSA versus a private accounting firm?
Thank you so much for that question, Samantha. And I think it's very important before I answer that question is just to highlight the fact that as the AGSA, we actually not in the same sort of industry as the private firms. As the AGSA, we're in a niche market. We operate in the public sector, and the type of training that we give you is very similar to what the private firms give you, because our program is also monitored and sort of crafted in conjunction with SAICA standards as well. So SAICA also comes in and they accredit us and they allow us to be able to sign off our trainees in order to qualify as chartered accountants. The advantage that one has once they are done with our training program is that they can venture into both, because some of the exposure that we give you is very similar to what all the other firms are giving you. One thing that I mentioned in terms of my presentation earlier on is that we do give some of the private firms some of the work to go do on our behalf or do it with us. So in terms of your exposure, you're looking at similar exposure. So you could be working for one of the private firms, but actually doing an AGSA client. I mentioned Eskom as an example. I mentioned Transnet as an example. Some of the big firms that are in the private sector are auditing those clients for us, but they are actually doing our line of work. So in terms of the advantages of being part of the AGSA is that you can literally venture into any other industry. And it's been evident from what we've seen in the past with some of our alumni. All of them have ventured into different parts of the industry. Some of them have gone into banking. Some of them have gone abroad to go audit in the private sector abroad and not just locally. Some of them have also been poached by our private firms. You know, when ISQM came through, we were one of the first organizations to to implement the ISQM standard, and that mainly sort of became attractive to some of our colleagues in the industry, and we ended up losing majority of our guys. So it just shows that the opportunities are endless. There's a lot of opportunities out there. Yeah.
Thank you, Sergio. There were two questions about does the AGSA offer vacation work for students?
Okay, thank you so much, Lisa. Yes, we do offer vacation work for students. In fact, we had a couple of students from UNISA last week in our head office that joined us for the LEAP program. We call it the Limitless Experience for Audit Pioneers. If you look at our Facebook page as well as our Twitter and LinkedIn profile, there's a couple of posts that we posted last week when we had our vacation work program. It's a very big program that runs throughout the country based on the recess periods of all the universities. So your UNISA students that are in other parts of the country, like your Free State, your Limpopo's, Mpumalanga, even I think KZN is happening the current 3 days from yesterday up until Wednesday. So those ones are also getting opportunities in the different parts. The best way to join the vacation work program is through our database. Once we visit the UNISA campus towards the end of this month for the career fair, we'll allow the students to scan the QR code, and also we'll share it with yourselves, Lisa, to share it with the students on your student portal on My UNISA, so that they can be able to see some of the opportunities that we have in our organization.
Thank you, Sergio. Also, link to the the VAC work. Do you offer bursaries for students?
100%. No, thank you so much. The bursaries opportunities, yes, we do offer bursaries for students, and our bursary period is actually about to start in the next month. So on the 1st of August up until the end of September, the 30th of September, our bursaries application will be open, and the link to that will also be shared on all the platforms, as well as with yourselves, to allow your students to apply for the bursary program. That program basically covers all the costs that relate to studying, from tuition up until your living allowances, as well as your books, as well as your accommodation as well. So everything that requires you to sort of study and staying at a specific place, we cover all those costs. And the way in which you repay the bursary, it's not a financial bursary. It's not a bursary that you pay back financially. You pay it back in service, and we allow you to do your 3-year articles with us. Should you request maybe to go do your articles elsewhere, that's when we'll then have to have a conversation about the amount of money that we've maybe spent throughout the year, and then we can then see how we can recover that. Hopefully that helps.
Thank you. And then there were 2 questions. Shadrach is saying thank you for the presentation, and he's wondering if the AGSA considers age in terms of a criteria when offering the training or the bursaries.
Thank you so much, Shadrach, for that question. We don't necessarily consider age. We really believe that we actually believe in giving equal opportunities to everyone. So age is really not a big thing for us. We mainly focus on your qualification. I've even done articles with people way older than me. So age is really not a big thing for us. We really an inclusive organization, and we believe in transformation and inclusivity. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let me see. Somebody was also asking, does AGSA consider CTA qualifications from private colleges or institutions?
Thank you for that question, Lisa. We mainly focus on the SAICA accredited qualifications. Even in terms of the degree, one of the reasons why we don't take the diploma, it's mainly because SAICA doesn't accredit or recognize it as yet. So any qualification that is accredited by SAICA, we definitely consider those. That's why our recruitment or graduate scheme is mainly focused on CASAs. So anything that is recognized by SAICA, we then recognize. Anything else at this stage, we only recognize it for all the other positions, like your experienced higher positions. If we're looking for an administrator or someone that can help us with another role, those will be crafted, or the criteria will be crafted by the hiring manager and not necessarily by us in graduate recruitment.
Thank you. There was somebody asking about the, please touch on the criteria to qualify to train at AG, and also tips to prepare for the interview should one be shortlisted.
In terms of the qualification criteria for AGSA graduate recruitment, if you're looking at the training scheme, the minimum requirement is CTA 2 at this stage. Should there be a need maybe for additional intake or people that are not necessarily pursuing the CA stream, that will be advertised as well. And that is mainly where we take people with just a degree or the level 1 students. But for now, the only intake that we are focusing on is people with CTA. The other one doesn't necessarily always occur. It only occurs as and when the need arises. So that's why we always encourage the students to have CTA by the moment they want to join us. In terms of the questions or the interview questions, the interview is really to get to know the student. And sometimes we struggle a bit in terms of getting cosmetic answers where people give us PR responses or prepared responses, and not necessarily allowing us to get to know the individual. So we always encourage our candidates to really try and be themselves, because that process allows us to identify where we can place you in our organization, so that you can be able to go thrive and do well in your position and your work. So in terms of the tips, I would say just know the basic auditing principles. Also share some of your experiences and what your interests are so that we can know at least where to place you in terms of where you should be and the kind of clients you should maybe audit. So there isn't really a strict requirement in terms of the interview process, especially for the graduate program, because we really see ourselves as a learning institution. Our aim is to help young professionals to develop into well-rounded and qualified CASAs. So we're not going to be excluding a big group of people with our interview process. We just want to identify how and where to place you in the organization. Sometimes we do have instances where maybe the hiring manager would have specific requirements. Those we also work on specific. It's always crafted. The specific criteria is crafted by the hiring manager, so we try to at least allow that as well. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Thank you. Makumani was asking, when it comes to recruitment selection, which things do you consider? For example, marks, good English, confidence in the interview, etc.
Thank you very much, Makumani. So that is actually it's well summarized in my view. We look at a whole host of things when we shortlist our candidates. Marks is one of them. We don't solely focus on marks because we know that the marks don't necessarily always tell the full story or doesn't give us a full view of the candidate. We also allow candidates, we take a mixture or mixed bag of candidates because, like I said, we see ourselves as a learning institution. Not everyone will be strong academically, but they might have other strengths. Confidence is also another one. We play and we place you based on your strengths, and we also try and help you in terms of some of the weaknesses that you might have, because we do acknowledge that everyone needs to get a chance and to also be developed in a way. So we allow you to come and work with a whole host of professionals that are coming from different backgrounds and they've got different experience as well. So it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to exclude certain people from the onset. It just means that we're looking at specific requirements as well, or specific criteria. But we are very inclusive in terms of our process. Thank you.
Thank you. For now, let me just see. Oh, there's one last question from Shadrach again. He is asking, do you have a working from home policy for training employees?
Oh, thank you so much, Shadrach. Yes, we do have a hybrid policy or hybrid working system. Some days you are allowed to work from home, some days from the client, and then others from the office. So those are some of the benefits that you also have. It also depends on the nature of the client that you have, because some clients prefer having their employees or the people that are auditing them on site so that they can have all the information readily available. And, you know, if there's anything that is needed from the auditors or the client side, it can also be sorted out quicker. Because what we always highlight is the fact that we charge our clients on an hourly basis. So it's very important for us to also try and balance those two. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergio. That's the only questions for now. So I'm just going to make a few announcements. As I am ending off the session, you are welcome to post any further questions. We'll just check before we end the session. Mrs. Makanya, there was just one question that I just want to ask you to respond to. What is the difference between this virtual event and the physical career fair, which will be held sometime next week?
Thank you, Lisa. Next week, it will be a face-to-face event. It will be hosted at the Sunnyside campus by the Gauteng region. It's a joint venture between the Gauteng region and the central office. So we, Auditor General, team will be there as well. but there is a number of other organizations that will be represented. Like if one comes to mind, it's the National Treasury Office, and the event is meant for students in the accounting field. So, but even interested students in other that are in an accounting related field of study, they are most welcome to come, because I think we'll have NYDA as well, and other organizations. I think BDO will be there as well. If they can just go to the website and check the adverts. That's what I can say for now. Thanks, Lisa.
Okay, so just the announcements that I spoke about, we want to invite you or encourage you, if you haven't done so already, to register for the Virtual Grad Expo. The platform will be available until September, but you can register now, and the idea is that on the 27th of July and the 17th of August, you would be able to attend live events online where you'd be able to chat with employers, professional organizations, as well as other higher education institutions. And the overall aim of the Virtual Grad Expo is to help you plan your next steps. So please register on the Virtual Grad Expo so that you can be notified when these live events will take place. Then in terms of further career events, we publish all the updated information about future events on the MyUnisa events calendar. So we really invite you to check there regularly to go and see what other topics we'll be presenting in July as well as in August. We will be having a couple more presentations about career opportunities in special fields. So, for example, on Thursday, we are doing a session about environmental careers. So please check in on the MyUnisa events calendar to get the links and the dates and the times for these events. Then we spoke a bit about the Accounting Sciences Career Exhibition. So that will take place on Thursday, the 27th of July, from 10 o'clock until 2 o'clock on the UNISA Sunnyside campus. And as Mrs. Makanya has mentioned, there are a couple of organizations that will be there, including the BDO South Africa, the Institute of Internal Auditors, the Auditor General South Africa will be there, SNG Grant Thornton, NIDA, as well as the DPCI Hawks and the Southern African Institute of Government Auditors. So again, that event will help you to understand the different career opportunities offered by these organizations. So it will help you also to network with employers as well as other students, and you'll be able to get a lot of information about the different opportunities during the event. Then we are also alerting you to the Grad Next book. The book is available free of charge. You can download it from the link on the screen. And the book contains a lot of useful information about preparing for future opportunities. So it includes, for example, writing CVs and cover letters, starting your own business, how to look for a job, preparing for interviews, networking, and personal branding. So please also take time to go and download this book, as it will certainly help you to prepare for your next steps as you are preparing to be employed in your field of study. And then from our side, we would really love to hear from you. So if you have any feedback, suggestions, or questions, please email Mrs. Mandu Makanya. Her email address is up there on the screen. You are also welcome to contact us at any stage at the Directorate for Counselling and Career Development if you would like to have conversations about your career, academic and personal development. Our email address is counselling@unisa.ac.za. We also offer online appointments on Microsoft Teams, or you are also welcome to contact a student counsellor at the regional office closest to you to make an appointment for counselling in person. On our website at www.unisa.ac.za, we have a lot of resources available that can also help you with your career planning and development. And on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/UNISA Careers, we also publish recordings of events, presentations such as these. So please go and take a look at the previous sessions, and any future sessions we will also publish the recordings there. So from my side, those are the announcements. If I could just ask, before we end the session, I just want to have a last question, Sergio. If you are awarded the bursary, do you automatically qualify for training, or will one still have to go through interviews?
Thank you very much, Lisa. Yes, when you awarded the bursary, you automatically qualify for training. You will, however, get interviewed, but remember the idea behind the interview is just to understand your interests and your aspirations so that we can place you in the right division to help you grow in those particular parts. So yes, it's a yes on both. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergio. So I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Ms. Becky Mzobe, if you could just end off the session for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa, and good day, everyone. We have now come to the end of today's session. On that note, I take this opportunity on behalf of my colleagues and the entire Directorate for Counseling and Career Development at UNISA to extend my gratitude to our guest speaker today, Mr. Sergio Mongale, for a very informative and interesting presentation. Thank you so much, Mr. Mongale, for taking the time to share this valuable information with our accounting students about your organization, Auditor General South Africa, and the role that you play as a Chapter 9 institution in the Republic of South Africa, and also the career opportunities that are available at Auditor General. This information shared today will help our students and graduates to broaden their scope for search for training programs and job opportunities. I have no doubt that our students and graduates will take this full advantage of these opportunities available. As a Directorate for Counseling and Career Development at UNISA, we are looking forward to a continued fruitful partnership with Auditor General. Thank you so much, Mr. Mongale. Back to you, Lisa.
Thank you, Becky. Again, thank you very much from my side, especially to those of you who made the time to attend this morning. As I indicated, if you would want to go and watch the recording of the workshop, will be available on our YouTube channel within the next 2 days. And all the best with your studies, and we hope to see you in future events. Before we end off, there is just one last question from Charity. Sergio, if you don't mind. Does previous work experience also count in terms of your recruitment process?
Thank you very much for that question, Lisa. Yes, previous work experience does count. We also do what we call the recognition of prior learning experience for some of the colleagues or the students that have done their articles elsewhere and decided maybe to change their articles to our institution. So that's what we are also trying to do on our side, to recognize their experience and also to help them also reintegrate into the CE program.
Thank you very much. That's the last of our questions. Thank you, and we hope you have a very good day further.
Thank you very much from my side as well to all the colleagues that invited me and also joined us today. I really appreciate this platform. From our side as the AGSA, we promise to bring you some of our TAs that have went through the UNISA program just to share their success stories. We were hoping to do that today, but unfortunately our colleague couldn't make it. So what we'll do in the next career fair is to bring some of the students that have also gone through and have been successful throughout and have qualified as CAs, and some of the ones that are currently studying, just to share some of the experience and the benefit that they have. Thank you.